everyone, this is Lydia at Learn to Garden with me. So this afternoon I have decided to make you a video to give you an idea of what I am doing in the garden in August, besides of course weeding and watering. I just weeded my garden this morning, and it has been taken care of, and I realized that it might be a good idea to show you what else I am doing to prepare my garden for the next planting season. I have learned from other gardeners, the gardeners that I followed in YouTube, that there are many plants that grow better if you plant them in the fall. So I started planning on what plants to acquire. I wanted to acquire more varieties of hydrangea. So I started planning where to plant them, and I learned that hydrangeas are best planted in the fall. So you give them time for the roots to develop, to develop a good root system before they start flowering. Although you can plant them in the spring, but it's just the best time to plant in the fall. So that's one of the plants that I am planning to acquire in the fall. So that's the number one thing that we can do in August. Start planning. Start planning your beds, where to put it, where to buy it, and of course what variety, and learn the growth requirements of the plants that you want to acquire. So that's one of the things that you can do in August. It's very hot outside. I tried myself to resist planting. I have plants that is ready to be planted, but I tried not to. It's just very hot. It's going to be another 4 weeks or 6 weeks before the temperature starts to cool down, and it's would be the best time to start planting again. So that's one thing. Now second is to look around in your garden and decide what are the plants that you want to grow more. Like if you have a plant that you really like and you want to have more of that, then you can start propagating that. And that's what I do, and I'm going to show you what are the plants that I started cutting and started growing them, so they will develop a good root system before I start planting them in the fall. So before I'll show you each plant that I am propagating now to be planted in the fall, I'm going to show you my entire nursery. It's very funny. When I started growing plants from seeds, I used our breakfast table inside the house. So in February, I bought a tray, and Ty bought me in December last year as a Christmas present. He bought me grow lights. So I used the grow lights to grow those plants from seeds inside the house in our breakfast table. And after that, I continue. I planted those plants that grow, but then I continue to grow seeds inside the house throughout spring. Now later in the spring, Ty sweetly asked me if he can claim back his breakfast table. He cook a lot. Well, he's the one cooking, and he just wanted more space to put his cooking gadgets. So of course I had to comply. So I moved my growing stuff here in the porch, in our back porch. So this has now become my nursery. Well, of course, this is a lot better. It's bigger, and I have a natural light. I don't need grow lights anymore. So I'm going to show you what it looks like before I go into each of the plants. So these are all the plants now that I am growing here in our back porch. So you know, when you grow plants from cuttings, you have to provide a lot of shade so they can develop good roots. So I'll go over the plants that I grow here. So I want to grow more of my lavender. I have three kinds of lavender, kinds of lavender in the garden now. I have the English lavender, and this is the French lavender, and I think there's a Spanish lavender, the third one there. But anyhow, I'm growing. I started growing more of the French lavender. So I grow them from cuttings. Of course, I used a growth hormone. So this is, you can buy this in the garden center, and I use this to grow it. So just dip your cutting here and before you put it in the soil. And most important thing in growing cuttings is to not let it dry. Keep it moist. And I think I'm successful on this one, and I grow more. I have more of this below. So I think this is one of the easiest thing that you can propagate, so you have more in the garden. You don't have to buy every time. Of course, it takes a while for this to grow and grow big, but if you don't have the budget, if you don't have all the resources, that you don't have a big budget like me, this is my way of growing things, so I don't have to buy it. And then you can also grow plants from seeds. So I started growing this salvia. This is the white ones. This salvia is less hardy than the purple salvia that I have here. This is white, but it come back. So this is the second, the mother, of course, the mother plants where I got the seeds from. This is their second year. So I harvested the seeds and grow them, and I have many of this, several trays of this kind of salvia. I have now maybe 4 varieties of salvia in my garden, and they are very easy to propagate from seeds. So I cut them so they start to branch out, so they will become more full, bushy and full, so they will produce more branches to produce flowers. Okay, so that's one plant that you can grow. And then of course your Dusty Miller. Now Dusty Miller is very hardy. I learned from my experience last year that it never died during the winter. So this is a very nice plant. This is very a good filler in your containers. So especially in the when you make your garden containers for fall, because this would grow. This will not die in the winter. So this is a good filler. So I am starting to propagate them. I have many Dusty Millers in my garden, but I want to grow more. So I don't have to buy it again. And of course, this plant is one of my favorites. And I actually, this is the Gardenia. Actually, I'm growing this for my friends. I have two friends that asked for this plant. So I show them pictures when our Gardenia was blooming, and it's very, very fragrant and very beautiful. And they asked me if I can give them some. Of course I cannot give them just the cuttings, you know. So I promised them that I will try to grow it and see if I will be successful, and I think I am. They started branching out. So later I will transfer this in a bigger pots, and this will be ready for them. And I might also plant more in my garden, but this is also one of the plants that you can grow from cuttings easy. And then of course I am growing more of the Snapdragons. Now Snapdragons are considered annual or tender annual. So but they grow best, or they flower best, in the spring and in the fall. So I am growing them here. These are grown from seeds, and I'm going to plant them late. I think I will try to plant them in the late summer, like end of August, and try to see if they would produce flowers for me in the fall. So, and I also I already have some Snapdragons in the landscape, and I cut them back, and they started to regrow, and I'm hoping to get see flowers in September or October. And then of course I can grow Supertunia from cuttings. Now these are annuals, but I am growing them now, and I'm planning to put them in the greenhouse. We have a little greenhouse that Ty bought me last year, but I think he's planning to buy me a better one, but I'm just hoping. But yes, I'm growing lots of Supertunias in my garden. I have Supertunias and Superbells. I think I got 4 kinds of Superbells and 3 Supertunias. So I'm trying to grow them for next year, so I don't have to buy it again. And the other thing that, so this is second one. So plan what to buy, what plants to grow and buy for fall planting. And second, propagate those that you already have. And of course, the third one is to go to the garden center and look for plants that are in the clearance section. There are lots of perennials that are in there that are marked 60% off or 50% off, and I'll show you the plants that I just bought last Monday for very cheap. So this area here is my rehabilitation area. So I have a nursery there, and this is the rehabilitation area. Well, I called it a rehab because when I bought these plants from the nursery, they look like they are dying. But I water them and I cut them back. Now, this one here is Salvia. This is a different kind of salvia, different color. I think this is blue. But I had 5 of them, very cheap, $2.80. It was supposed to be $8 per pot. This is a big pot. Now, you know, for perennials, most garden centers sell it in the garden center in the summer where they're flowering, and then when they finish flowering, they don't look good anymore, and they just put it in the clearance section. But what I did when I got it is I cut the old the branches, and look at that, they start growing again, and I will have flowers this fall. So this is ready to be planted in the fall. And of course, I got a Phlox there, one of my favorite plants. Look at that, they don't look good, but I just learned now that this head here will produce more blooms. So the flowers die and they more blooms are coming out. So that looks like dying. It has not been watered there in the garden center, so I bought it for cheap. And of course, this Nandina bush, these are ones of my favorite bushes because they turn they're more red. They have very nice color in the landscape in the fall. And these are evergreen, so I bought, I think, 3 of this for half the price, original price. So I think that's all for this video. I hope you enjoy watching, and I hope you learned something and start planting and acquiring plants and start to propagate for the next planting season, which is fall. Bye.